Okay, so let's talk about why this is one of the most interesting timelines to be a part of right now, because yesterday, Mother 3 was trending on Twitter, and I was a little confused about this. I said, well, hold on, Mother 3's anniversary was a week and a half ago. That's when you figure it would trend online, and that we had a cool patch that was released. It was an update to that translation patch that we've been using forever now, and it just fixed up some of the different bugs and other glitches and stuff in that patch. Very small things, because it was pretty good overall, but hey, why not? We'll get an update for it. It was pretty cool to see that on the game's 15th birthday, but it was trending on Twitter, and after a bunch of people started tagging me in a certain tweet, I said, wow, this is pretty interesting. We're going to have to talk about this one. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So we're going to head over here to Twitter, where we can see at the top, Terry Crews tweeted out, all caps, localize Mother 3. And within a matter of hours, had tens of thousands of likes and retweets and all of this. And Mother 3 went mainstream there for a couple of hours. I'm sure there are a lot of people looking at that and being like, what? 3 mothers? What does this mean exactly? I mean, a lot of people don't really necessarily know what Mother 3 is, because it is a niche product, right? I mean, the Mother series in general is a smaller thing from Nintendo, so you put that on Twitter and it goes all over the place. A lot of people are maybe a little confused about it, especially a game that has not technically left Japan and come to the West. But this actually got a lot of people wondering again, wait a minute, could Mother 3 actually happen? Could Nintendo really localize this game? Because I've brought this up quite a few times. Could Nintendo actually do it, say, in 2021, in current times, with some of the controversy that technically is in the game? And a lot of it has to do with portrayal of certain characters, some of the themes in the game. And like, for example, Mother 3 deals with tones such as death and coping with loss. And then it also goes a bit further with the controversy around the Magypsies. It's certainly something that I'm sure Nintendo looks at as something that they would have to be very careful with if they wanted to localize it and release it in the West. And they're also doing, I'm sure, a lot of risk assessment and trying to figure out, okay, if we did localize this game, how much would it realistically sell, and would it be worth probably all the PR they'd have to go through to get it out there? Which is why I was pleasantly surprised when I was looking through the replies for Terry Crews here, which were all really positive. They're like, yeah, we should localize Mother. That should get done. Nintendo should bring that game over to the Western audience. And when I was going around different forums and websites, like all the websites picked it up and started writing about it. All the forums started topics immediately. They're like, wow, Terry Crews calling for the localization of Mother 3. Some of them very reactionary forums, some of them very reactionary websites is what I'll say. Places that'll write about things outside of games and then connect them to games for some reason. But they all seemed really excited about this. And I was like, wow, maybe Nintendo could actually do it. Although I do question how many people have played through Mother 3, since the only way you can play it is through that translation patch in a ROM or a reproduction card, and maybe they haven't gone through it, and if it got localized, they would get it and be like, oh, okay, I kind of see why Nintendo may have been tiptoeing around this one. As for me, you guys know this, I would love to see Mother 3 localized. I'd love to see it get localized. Big old collector's edition, kind of mimic the big box that we had for Earthbound in the West. Like, it'd be really fun to see them recognize the game and put it out there with a release for the Switch. And I have the Mother shirt. I'll do all kinds of stuff to continue bringing it up in conversation. But realistically, I understand that Nintendo is weighing options around this game. And despite people asking Reggie all the time for like a solid decade, when is he going to bring Mother 3 to the West, he still jokes about it even after leaving Nintendo, right? He did that on Twitter the other day where he said, oh, I have this English version of Mother 3 and occasionally I'll take it out to play it, but then someone will ask about it and I put it away. I mean, yeah, it's trolling people on Twitter, and it's very fun, for Reggie to be doing that, but oof, it's like, how close have we been to Mother 3 being localized? That's something people bring up, because if you remember, early in the Switch's life, there was a rumor that Mother 3 was going to be localized to the West. It was going to come out on the Switch. And I had heard about this, and I looked into it a bit more, and the way it was explained is that Nintendo legitimately was looking into this. Like, they were like, we're actually going to release this. It'll be out for the Switch in the West. Awesome. They did Earthbound Beginnings, right, on the Wii U. Okay, we'll do Mother 3 on the Switch. That'd be great. And it sounded like they were going through it, and it has nothing to do with their ability to get it on the Switch in the West, obviously localized and all that. It still seems to be Nintendo unsure, I guess, of how things will go over after the release. It's just something that Nintendo's trying to risk assess and figure out if it's worth doing. Which brings up the conversation of changes, because this is something that again makes it very difficult for Nintendo. They're in like this, they're caught in the middle of like the rock and the hard spot, and they'd rather just walk away from it, basically. Like, they have Mother 3. They could release it, deal with potential backlash that could ensue from certain websites and Twitter reactions and all of this online that could potentially damage their image in some way. That being Nintendo, they're very careful about their image overall. They could do something like put a disclaimer up at the beginning of the game, right, for the release, views expressed here, all this stuff, historical, or they could change the game. And I think that would get a ton of backlash. I mean, think about it. A lot of people would like to see Mother 3 come over in its purest form. And they did make changes to Earthbound when that released in the West on the Super Nintendo. So much so that there is a patch that you can apply to the Earthbound ROM. And it just removes a lot of those changes and adds back into what we had in the Japanese release for the game. So I kind of think if Nintendo did that, that would be the worst case scenario. Like, that would go over very poorly if they just started changing a bunch of stuff in Mother 3 to kind of soften the blow of the release to the overall, I guess, just mainstream online. I guess the question now comes down to, will Nintendo ever localize Mother 3 and bring it to the Western audience? You know what? I kind of think they might. And it sounds weird because for the longest time, I thought it was just never going to happen. It was a dead end. They're just going to pretend it doesn't exist in the West. But, I mean, we do technically have new leadership at Nintendo of America, that being Doug Bowser. And maybe he was like, hey, we should put out Mother 3. And maybe that's a conversation going on within Nintendo, like, right now, and how they could approach that. But something to think about there. And I think the more Mother 3 is talked about in the mainstream, especially with people like Terry Crews just randomly tweeting it out, and even doing a whole Old Spice promo, which isn't new for him, but then adding in the Mother 3 or the Mother like graphics and the HUD and all of this, it does make you think maybe Mother 3 has a shot. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.